You know that moment when karma hits so fast and so hard that you almost feel bad for the person who destroyed your life? Almost. But not quite. That's where I am right now. Because 3 days ago, my ex-husband, the man who abandoned me for his mistress, called me from a hospital bed, begging for help, begging for mercy, begging me to save him. And you want to know what I said? Let me back up first. Because this story doesn't start with a phone call. It starts 2 years ago, when my entire world fell apart. My name's Claire, I'm 38 years old, and I was married to a man named Robert for 12 years. 12 years of what I thought was a solid marriage. A good marriage. We had our problems, sure, but doesn't everyone? We met in our mid-20s. He was charming, ambitious, working his way up in finance. I was a teacher, passionate about my work, making decent money, but nothing compared to what Robert would eventually earn. By the time we hit our late 30s, Robert was pulling in $400,000 a year as a senior financial analyst. We had a beautiful house, nice cars, vacations to Europe, the whole picture-perfect life. Except it wasn't perfect. Not even close. Looking back, I can see the signs I missed. Robert started working later. Big project, he'd say. Important client. Then he started traveling more for work. Weekend conferences, week-long trips to close deals. He became distant, checked out. When I tried to talk to him, he'd barely look up from his phone. When I'd suggest date nights, he'd say he was too tired. When I'd reach for him in bed, he'd roll away. I thought it was stress. Midlife crisis maybe. I tried to be understanding, supportive, patient. I was such an idiot. Then came the night that changed everything. I was home grading papers when Robert walked in at 9 p.m. He didn't kiss me hello, didn't ask about my day. Just stood in the doorway of the living room, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable. Claire, we need to talk. Those 4 words. I felt my stomach drop. What's wrong? I asked, setting down my red pen. I'm leaving. Just like that. No build-up. No explanation. Just I'm leaving. Leaving. What do you mean leaving? Like a trip? No. I mean I'm leaving you. I want a divorce. The room started spinning. What? Robert, what are you talking about? He sighed like I was being difficult. I've been unhappy for a while now. I need to move on. I've already talked to a lawyer. The papers will be ready next week. Unhappy? Since when? Why didn't you tell me? We could have tried counseling. There's no point in counseling, Claire. I don't love you anymore. I haven't for a long time. Each word was like a knife to the chest. There's someone else, isn't there? I whispered. Robert had the decency to look away. Yes. I felt like I was dying. How long? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. How long have you been cheating on me? 2 years. 2 years. 2 years he'd been sleeping with someone else while coming home to me. While I cooked his dinners and did his laundry and planned our anniversary trips. Who is she? Her name's Vanessa. She works at the firm. She's what I need right now. What you need? I was crying now, ugly crying. What about what I need? What about our marriage? Our vows? I'm sorry, Claire, but this is happening. I've already moved most of my stuff out. I'll be back for the rest this weekend. You've already moved out? When? While you were at work today. He'd been planning this, executing it like a business deal while I was teaching 4th graders about fractions. Robert, please. We can work this out. We can try. There's nothing to work out. It's over. I'm in love with Vanessa. We're moving in together. And then he left. Just walked out. Left me sobbing on the couch in the house we bought together. The house I decorated. The house where I'd imagined growing old with him. The next few months were a nightmare. Robert's lawyer was aggressive. They wanted the house sold, assets split 50-50, and for me to walk away with basically nothing beyond what I was entitled to by law. Meanwhile, Robert and Vanessa were living their best life. I saw the social media posts. Friends would send them to me, thinking I should know. Pictures of them at fancy restaurants. On vacation in Bali. Looking so happy. So in love. While I was crying myself to sleep every night in a studio apartment because I couldn't afford to keep the house. The divorce was finalized 8 months later. I got my share of the assets, about $180,000 after lawyer fees. Robert kept most of his retirement accounts, his car, and moved into a luxury condo with Vanessa. I tried to move on. Started therapy. Focused on my teaching. Went on a few terrible dates that reminded me why being single wasn't so bad. And then 3 days ago, my phone rang at 11 p.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello. Heavy breathing. Then, Claire. I recognized the voice immediately. Robert. What do you want? My voice was ice. Claire, please. I need your help. I'm in the hospital. There was an accident. A bad one. My heart rate spiked despite myself. What happened? Car accident. Vanessa was driving. We were coming back from dinner, and a truck ran a red light, and his voice broke. Claire, Vanessa's dead. She died on impact. And I'm in bad shape. I sat down. Vanessa was dead. The woman Robert had left me for was dead. I'm sorry for your loss, I said carefully. But why are you calling me? Because I need you. He was crying now. I have nobody else. My parents are gone. My brother's overseas. You're my emergency contact on file. The hospital called you first, but you didn't answer, so they called me to get another number, and I realized you're the only person I have. Robert, we're divorced. I'm not your emergency contact anymore. Technically you are. I never updated the forms. Claire, please. I'm scared. I have multiple fractures. Possible internal bleeding. I need surgery. And I'm alone. Completely alone. Okay, pause. I need to know what you would do here. Drop a comment and tell me, would you help your ex after they abandoned you? Where are you watching from? This is wild and I need your perspective. Part of me, the part that had loved this man for 12 years, wanted to rush to the hospital. To be there for him. Because that's who I was. A helper. A caretaker. Someone who showed up. But the other part of me, the part that had spent 8 months crying, that had lost weight from stress, that had to rebuild her entire life from scratch, that part said no. I'm sorry you're hurt, Robert. I really am. But I can't help you. What? Claire, please. You made it very clear when you left that I wasn't what you needed. That Vanessa was what you needed. Well, I'm not available to be your backup plan now that she's gone. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? You had an affair for 2 years. You blindsided me with divorce papers. You took half of everything we built and moved your mistress into a condo while I lived in a studio apartment. And now you want me to drop everything and come hold your hand. I made mistakes. You made choices, Robert. Choices that destroyed me. And now you're facing the consequences of those choices. You're alone because you chose to leave the person who would have stood by you through anything. Claire, I'm begging you. You're begging me? You know who begged you? Me. I begged you not to leave. I begged you to try counseling. I begged you to remember what we had. And you walked away without looking back. So no, Robert. I'm not coming to that hospital. I'm not holding your hand. I'm not saving you. Please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I was wrong. About all of it. Leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. Well, you'll have plenty of time to think about that mistake while you recover. Alone. Claire. I hung up, and I sat there, shaking, trying to process what had just happened. My ex-husband's mistress was dead. He was injured and alone. And he'd called me. Part of me felt guilty. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt nothing. The next morning, Robert called again. I didn't answer. He called 6 more times. Left voicemails. All saying the same thing. He was sorry, he needed me. He'd made terrible mistakes. Could I please come to the hospital? I didn't respond. Then his lawyer called. Miss Bennett, I'm representing Robert Chen. He's asked me to reach out regarding his medical situation. He has no family available and is requesting your presence. Tell Mr. Chen that I'm not available, I interrupted. We're divorced. His medical situation is not my concern. He's prepared to offer compensation for your time. I don't want his money. I want him to leave me alone. I hung up. The calls kept coming. Then the texts. From Robert. Claire, I know I don't deserve your help. But I'm desperate. I have no one. Please. From numbers I didn't recognize, probably his colleagues. This is Mark from Robert's office. He's really in bad shape. Could you please at least visit? I blocked them all. Then, on day 3, a different number called. A woman. Is this Claire Bennett? Yes. Who's this? My name is Dr. Sarah Kim. I'm Robert Chen's surgeon. I'm calling because Mr. Chun has refused to consent to a necessary surgery unless you agree to be here. I actually laughed. Are you serious? Very serious. He has internal bleeding that needs to be addressed immediately. But he's being difficult. He insists he won't sign the consent forms unless you come to the hospital. Then let him refuse. That's his choice. Miss Bennett, if he doesn't have the surgery in the next 24 hours, he could die. And that's terrible. But it's not my responsibility. I'm his ex-wife. We've been divorced for over a year. His medical decisions are his own. Dr. Kim was quiet for a moment. He told me what happened. How he left you. I told him he's being unreasonable expecting you to come. But he's adamant. Says you're the only person he trusts. He should have thought about that before he cheated on me for 2 years and left me for his mistress. I understand. And I don't blame you for feeling that way. But I had to try. For his sake. I appreciate that you're trying to help your patient, Dr. Kim. But my answer is no. If Robert wants to play games with his own life, that's on him. Not me. I hung up. And then I did something I'm not entirely proud of. I called my therapist. Jane, I need an emergency session. An hour later, I was sitting in her office, telling her everything. So let me get this straight, Jane said. Your ex-husband, who abandoned you for another woman, is now injured and alone after that woman died in a car accident. And he's refusing life-saving surgery unless you show up at the hospital. Yep. And you feel guilty. Shouldn't I? I mean, he could die. Could he? Or is he manipulating you one more time? I blinked. What? Claire, think about it. Robert has spent your entire relationship manipulating you. He manipulated you into thinking everything was fine while he had an affair. He manipulated the divorce to get what he wanted, and now he's manipulating his own medical crisis to get you back in his life. But the doctor said he's refusing surgery. That's his choice, not yours. If he dies because he refused medical treatment to manipulate his ex-wife, that's on him, not you. I sat with that. You don't owe him anything, Jane continued. Not your presence, not your comfort, not your guilt. He made his choices. He chose Vanessa over you. He chose to blow up your marriage. He chose to hurt you. And now he's choosing to use his injuries as leverage. Don't fall for it. But what if he really does die? Then he dies because he refused medical treatment. Not because you didn't show up. You're not responsible for his choices, Claire. You never were. I left that session feeling clearer than I had in days. Robert called one more time that evening. I answered. Claire, thank God. Robert, listen to me very carefully. I'm going to say this once, and then I'm blocking your number permanently. Please just hear me out. No. You hear me out. What you're doing is manipulation. You're using your medical crisis to try to pull me back into your life. And it's not going to work. I'm not manipulating. Yes, you are. You're refusing life-saving surgery to guilt me into showing up. That's manipulation. That's emotional blackmail. And I'm not falling for it. I just need you. You don't need me. You want me. There's a difference. You want me to come running back so you can feel less alone. So you can feel less guilty about what you did. So you can pretend that I've forgiven you and everything's okay. But I haven't forgiven you. And everything's not okay. And I'm not coming. Claire. Sign the consent forms, Robert. Have the surgery. Recover. Move on with your life. Because I've already moved on with mine. And you're not part of it anymore. Please. Goodbye, Robert. I hung up, blocked his number, blocked every number that had called me on his behalf. And then I waited. I waited to feel guilty, to feel like a terrible person, to feel like I'd made the wrong choice. But I didn't feel any of those things. I felt free. Free from the guilt. Free from the obligation. Free from the man who'd spent 2 years lying to me and then expected me to pick up the pieces when his new life fell apart. The next day, I called the hospital. Asked for Dr. Kim. Dr. Kim, this is Claire Bennett. I'm calling to find out if Robert Chun had his surgery. Miss Bennett? Yes, he did. He finally signed the consent forms last night. The surgery went well. He's in recovery now. Good. I'm glad he made the right choice. Thank you for letting me know. Miss Bennett, if you don't mind me saying, you made the right choice too. What he was doing to you wasn't fair. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was yesterday. Robert is alive. He's recovering. He'll be fine physically, though I'm sure the loss of Vanessa is devastating emotionally. But that's not my problem anymore. My friends have been split on my decision. Half think I did the right thing. He abandoned you. You owe him nothing. The other half think I was too harsh. He could have died. You should have been the bigger person. But here's what I've learned. Being the bigger person doesn't mean letting people manipulate you. It doesn't mean sacrificing your own peace for someone who destroyed it in the first place. Robert made his choices. I made mine. He chose to have an affair. I chose to respect myself. He chose to leave me. I chose to rebuild my life. He chose to manipulate me one last time. I chose to walk away. And I would make the same choices again. Because I'm not the woman Robert left anymore. That woman was broken. Desperate. Willing to accept crumbs. I'm different now. Stronger. Clearer. I know my worth. And I know that I don't owe anything to a man who threw away 12 years like they meant nothing. Robert called me from that hospital bed begging for mercy. Begging for help. Begging for me to save him. But I'd already spent 12 years trying to save a marriage to a man who didn't want to be saved. I wasn't about to spend one more minute trying to save him from the consequences of his own choices. Here's what I want people to understand. You don't owe your ex-partner anything. Not your time. Not your energy. Not your compassion. Especially if they destroyed you and only came back because their new life fell apart. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Being compassionate doesn't mean being manipulated. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is say no. I'm Claire. I'm 38 years old. My husband abandoned me for his mistress, and then begged for mercy when she died and he was alone. And I said no. Not because I'm cruel. Not because I'm heartless. But because I finally learned to put myself first. Robert wanted me to save him. But I'd already saved the most important person, myself.